Hello, my friends, and welcome. Thank you for joining me. Hello, my friends, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. Forgive me if I've said hello twice. This new Facebook Live is doing my head in. I have no idea if I'm live or not, but I'm going to assume that I am and that you are here watching either on the replay or joining me as I go live this afternoon. Hello, Laura. Lovely to see you. Thank you for letting me know that I am indeed live. Thanks so much. It's Monday, almost 4:30 p.m. on Monday afternoon, and that's Monday the 15th. And I have spent this morning, well, actually from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m., with my Super Self Academy members who come join me for 15 minutes each during that 4 hours. And there was something that came up in those sessions today that I want to put to you, that I want to have a conversation about. It was just something that I've probably been contemplating thinking about this for about a year or two, but it started to come up in conversations today. So I thought I would share this perspective with you and maybe help you to understand what is going on for you personally right now. So let me first of all just say, for anyone watching on the replay or live who isn't familiar with me, my name is Aleckson, and I help busy people to find enlightenment, spiritual enlightenment, through practical, simple, modern spiritual practices. And I do that through what I call my ultimate power framework. So that's me. I'm also a direct voice channel for a highly evolved non-physical stream of consciousness called All That Is. And I am an author, currently writing my book. Besides all of those things, I am a thinker and I am a spiritual seeker. And every single day I wake up with the intention to come to know the truth more and more every single day. So I want to, the perspective that I want to talk to you about today, or put to you, share my perspective on today, is this. I named this live, are you an innie or an outie when it comes to something? I don't even know what I named it, but that's irrelevant. Are you an innie or an outie when it comes to your development, I guess you could say, or activism and these sorts of things? Now, what I mean by that is this. Hi, Michelle. Lovely to see you. Thanks for joining me. What I mean by that is this. Everybody, of course, is super aware of what's going on in the world at the moment, particularly focused on the United States of America. But we also here in Australia have our own version of that happening as well. And so we bloody well should, right? We are also complicit in these same sorts of things. But that's beside the point. This discussion is not about that. What this discussion is about is that when I gather with my Super Self Academy members, as I did this morning for 4 hours, I love my 4 hour sessions. Much of what was asked about by the individuals coming to have their 15-minute slots with me was to do with how they were feeling discombobulated, unsure, not knowing what's going to happen next, unsure of how to be in the world right now, and lots of deep, deep grief and sadness as well. And so that reminded me of something that I'd been contemplating for, as I said, a couple of years now, with regards to there are predominantly two types of people who are here to change the world. And by the way, that's every single person in the world, right? They just do it two different ways. There are those who, when it comes time to change the world, when they see a need for the world to change, they go out and they march on the streets, and they demand with their voices and their feet and with everything within them, and sometimes uncomfortable things, of course, they demand that change be made in the world. And so we're seeing a lot of that happening at the moment. But what I have recognized about myself, and of course about many of the people that I work with as clients, because we tend to attract like minded and like energy beings to our own selves. What I have noticed is that I'm an inner activist, if you want to call it that. Activist kind of takes away from, because activism is an action, whereas inner work is also an action. But what I'm recognizing more and more in this theory that I started thinking about a couple of years ago is that there are, as I said, predominantly two types of people who make change in the world. Those who do activism out in the world and call for and demand and march against or march for and all of those sorts of things. Those type of activists, so outer activists as I call them. But there is also, and this is where it's very clear to me because of my own personal experience, but also the experiences of my clients, so many of them, and I'm not even going to use the word empath or anything like that, because it doesn't matter if you are deeply empathic or not, you're either an inner or an outer. You're an outer activist, getting out there, marching against, marching for, um, fighting for what you want, essentially. And then there are the inner activists. Like myself, I'm an inner activist. Every single time there's something going on out there in the world and I want to create change, I go inside. I go inside my own self, my own energy, my own belief systems, my own thinking, and I dismantle that which I don't like that's showing up in the world. I dismantle that within my own self. And this has always been my way. It's always been my way. Now, there are some people who have criticized that and suggested that the only way to have the world change is to get out there and demand and call for that change. But I no longer subscribe to that theory. In fact, I didn't ever subscribe to it, but I did have moments of, oh, that's the way to create change in the world. No. I also believe that I don't think we can do one without the other. It's not a this or that scenario, it's a this and that. Now, what do I mean by that? The people who are out there taking action in this way, they are not just doing that for their group that they're doing it for and themselves, but for everybody else in the world. And the same goes for those of us who are doing the inner work. So if you personally have been feeling so many things, deep, deep grief, deep sadness, feeling as though you are persecuted, feeling as though you have been made to be less than, all of these things that so many of us have been clearing up within ourselves. What's happening in the world at the moment, because what's out there is always a reflection and a projection of what's in here. And that's where I come from. So whenever I see something in the world that's happening that's uncomfortable, that makes me feel uncomfortable, that triggers me in any way, I know that I need to go inside, find that within myself, or find that feeling that it brings up, find that within myself and be present with that feeling. I'm not going to say heal that feeling. I'm not going to say clear that feeling. I'm not going to say get rid of that feeling. What I'm going to say is just be with that feeling in this now moment, because I know that's the only way to clear it, the only way to transcend it, to move beyond it. And so that's really the perspective that I just wanted to share with you today, and to also say to you that if you, like me and like many of my clients and Super Self Academy members, if you are really, really feeling the energy of what's happening right now, and you are also someone who is observing what's happening and feeling any sort of way about it, it doesn't matter what way, it's just if you're feeling something about it, and particularly if it's triggered, so you're feeling anger about it, or you're feeling blame or shame or any of those sorts of things, you can go and you can fight against it, as some do, and it's perfect. As I said, that has to be done as well. It's not this or that, it's this and that. But I'm predominantly talking to the people like myself who are drawn to do the inner work. Find the trigger, do the inner work. We've really come to a time now, so I hope I've made that point clear. What I'm saying is that there are people who do the activism in the way that it's being done in the world at the moment, and then there are people who do the inner work. And here's the thing that I know, bringing it back to where I wanted to come from. I live oneness. It's not just a theory for me, I live it. I know that everything outside of me is simply a projection and a reflection of what is within me. I also know that I am the only one that exists, and everyone around me is simply a reflection or a projection of what I think about myself. And so, coming from a perspective of oneness, we have to have both of these groups. We have to have the activism out there on the streets, marching, calling for change, pulling people up, calling out people on social media and all of those things, which, by the way, both groups do or can do if they choose to. And then also the people doing the inner work, because if I am one with all that is, which is everybody else, then as I do my inner work and transcend that, then so does everyone else. And then in the collective, if we march for and create change in that way, we're not just doing it for ourselves and our group, we are doing it for everyone. Because again, when we come back to oneness, we are all one. Everything I do for me, I do for you. Everything you do, you also do for me. We are one, right? So that's my point about that. Now, with regards to calling people out on social media and such, both groups do that, some more vocally than others. Now, it may well be an empath thing, it may well be an introvert and an extrovert thing. I'm probably thinking, now that I'm saying that, I'm thinking it probably is. I'm an introvert predominantly. I do have extrovert tendencies when I want to, but I'm predominantly an introvert, and I've noticed that my friends who are introverts are also the ones who do a lot of inner work, and who recognise that when we do that inner work, we're doing it for the whole collective consciousness, because there is only one collective consciousness, and we are all just simply physical manifestations of it. Even the crappy bad things and the people that we're fighting against, they are one with all that is as well. Anyway, so that was what I've been contemplating today, and what I've been sharing with some of the people in my Super Self Academy who I spoke with today for their 15-minute sessions. So I just wanted to share that because I wanted to get back onto social media. I've been away from social media because of this and so much more. But certainly the last few weeks I have expressed my opinion on this matter, and um, mentioned that I am anti-racism and that I will call people out, and I had been doing that. I have been doing that on social media, but predominantly my work is on the inner stuff. My work right now, up until a few months ago, our work as people who do inner work was to notice when we were triggered by something, or when we felt a certain way about something that felt uncomfortable, we went and we did the work around that, the inner work around that. But what I'm really noticing now for myself, and perhaps for you as well, is that I'm actually chasing the triggers at this point. If we're going to create change in the world, we have to allow ourselves to be fucking uncomfortable and to chase those things that are going to trigger us. So I've been chasing the words in these conversations that make me feel uncomfortable because I feel like I have to. And again, this is not a conversation about that and about what I'm doing and about what we should be doing and all of those sorts of things. It's more a conversation about if you're feeling like you should be doing something out there in the world, but at the same time you know that's not really where you belong, then know that if you are also doing the inner work, then you are playing your part in this, because one can't do it without the other. And everything that you do in your inner work has an effect on the collective, because again, we are all one. So I invite you to chase the triggers, to stop defriending people who don't agree with you, and to instead allow yourself to be triggered, allow yourself to feel uncomfortable with what they are talking about, particularly if you are, like myself, white, and you get triggered by um, words like white fragility. It doesn't trigger me now, but it surely did. That's when I started to think about this inner work and chasing the triggers. And, some of the other things that are being said online at the moment with regards to, look, you can see my face, I'm as white as they come, Anglo-Saxon. And so, yes, some of the expressions being used do trigger me, but you know what? I've allowed them to trigger me this time, and I've allowed myself to be uncomfortable, and I've allowed myself to become more through it, to release that which needs to be released within me. Now, I'm not saying that I was racist, but I'm saying that I am in a position where I have benefited from that. But again, this isn't about that whole conversation. It's simply about if you are doing inner work, but you're feeling guilty and thinking you should be doing more, I wanted you to understand that you're doing exactly what's required of you at this time. If that's what you're feeling called to do, then that's exactly what is required of you. To just allow yourself to be triggered, and then allow yourself to go in and sit with, be with, whatever it is that you're feeling around that thing that's being triggered, and to transmute it, transform it, take it back to its source, so that we can finally, really, truly create change in the world. Not the piddling little way that we've been doing so up to this point, but let's really create change, proper change. Change. Let's just create change. And whether you do it through your own inner work, or whether you do it by getting out there on the streets, or whether you do it by both ways, entirely your choice. And there is no right or wrong. There is no, this is the right way and that is the wrong way. The two ways come together. And I'm sure there are other ways that other people are doing it. But let me tell you about the third group. As I was talking to someone today, I mentioned that there were actually 3 types. Yay, good on you, Kelly. Thank you. I've only just noticed that I've got some comments. Always starts with ourselves. Yeah, I agree with that, Anara, but what I'm also saying is that it can start on the outside and then be an inner thing, or it can start on the inside and then become an outer thing. I don't think it's an either or. It's a choice, essentially. But again, as I said, we're all doing it for each other, so it doesn't matter which side we're standing on. But I do want to just end with a funny little thing with regards to, there's actually, I said there were 2 types of people creating change in the world. The activists and the people who do the inner work. There's also another group, okay? Those who are letting it all happen around them really haven't kind of even awakened to what's going on, what's truly going on. And these are the people who wait for the tipping point when the collective consciousness finally changes, as it's doing right now, through conversations, through activism, through inner work. As the tipping point for consciousness changes, this third group of people sit here and don't take either side, but the minute that the tipping point happens, they slide down into whatever the collective consciousness is heading towards. And there's nothing wrong with that either. And those people are completely unaware, and that's okay. It matters not, because again, that's just simply a part of me that's unaware. Just as the people in doing the activism are aspects of me taking action, just as the me that is doing the inner work is an aspect of me reflected by you doing the inner work. It's all perfect. And isn't that just incredible? We are such incredible beings when we look at it from these higher perspectives. We really are. We create opportunities just like this in order to become more, in order to raise our consciousness, in order to make life better for those that come after us, and all of these sorts of things. How bloody clever are we, really? I'm amazed at our cleverness. We're also super clever at hiding from the truth, hiding from what's really going on with us. This is why I invite you to chase the triggers, and to, when you have something that comes up for you, when you have a strong emotion about anything, whether it's guilt, shame, rage and anger, sadness, deep sadness going on in the collective at the moment, just allow yourself to go into it, allow yourself to be present with it in this now moment. What happened to create it doesn't matter. Now is the only time that matters with regards to doing your inner work. Please understand, I'm talking only of with regards to doing your inner work. So that's what I wanted to chat about, I guess, this afternoon. And I truly do appreciate those of you who have joined me for this conversation. Laura, Michelle, second time seeing you today. Jody Sampson, hello you too. Kelly, of course, and Inara. Thank you all for joining me. I really do appreciate it. And I might come back and have another conversation tomorrow about perhaps something like this or something totally different. Thank you so much for joining me. Love you all, and I'll look forward to talking to you soon.